we've found, at least I see as a society, we find it's much easier to communicate the negative aspects of what we don't like, and then that creates barriers for our communication.
Right.
I have many teachers that struggle with communicating because they've tried to communicate positive things and all they get back is negative. And so why am I even doing this anymore? Because all they're getting is criticism. Because it is easy for parents, community members, teachers to get on behind a computer with the way we communicate and type with their Facebook muscles things that they want to be. And we really have to fight to keep things positive.
Yeah, thank you.
It's very easy to jump on the negative thing and drag them with all the comments.
Of course.
We see, I mean, everybody sees it. That's a challenge.
Yeah, so how do we, persist in maintaining a, role modeling for families and vice versa, families role modeling for schools, how to maintain positive communication, and it's for the students, right? Yeah, lots of good, okay, keep going.
I am a new parent and also a community member. I'm engaged with the school district for like a couple of school districts, and I'm a liaison person between the community and the school. I think when you talk about back and forth communication, it matters with the language barrier that we have in our school districts. May not be with all the school, but then mostly metro school districts have linguistic issues. Like there are like 35 different languages spoken in a small school district where I live. So there is a challenge for the school district to manage that resource, how they can effectively communicate with the parents, because they send voicemail in English and they speak Urdu, or they send voice message in English, then family speaks, they don't even understand what is being sent. So I think there should be a tool that can help the families to see. I think this advisory council can have resources that would be available online so that the school can use it. I think that has been the biggest challenge. I have been like jumping in and out, interpreting them, but like how much I can speak. I speak 4 languages, that's all I can do. But then there are areas where the school needs more languages capacity. They don't have staff capacity with those, and we cannot have all language speakers in one school. It's not possible at all. But then how can we gather resources in our website that can help? I think this has been a challenge to Columbus City School, like our suburb school, like the school district where I live is Lincoln Heights, a very small school district with like 2 elementary school, 2 high school, 1 middle school. But still there are challenges because there are 30 different diverse population in that small school district. So that is also one.
They actually went out to the neighborhoods to try to meet the families. This was in like the first week of school when they were still in convocation, and really knowing the area that the students were coming from. And so that was something that the teacher said.
That's
and
great.
Part of the teachers union, one of the things they did, they took a bus tour so that all the new teachers coming into the community and working in that district actually would be able to see all of the different places where those students were going to be coming from, their homes or just their neighborhoods.
I love that, and I love that it happened at sort of the system level, and it wasn't individual teachers being required to do it on their own time or not compensated for that experience. I like that it was at the system level. Thanks for sharing, Krista. Okay, I'm probably going way over my time, but I think this is very interesting, and you guys have had a lot to say, and I appreciate that. When we asked you about trust and respect and how those are built, you said follow through, do what you say and mean what you say. That's huge, and it's important in any relationship that is from all levels. So from the families, the family knowing that they are expected to follow through, and the school modeling for families that this is how you do that well and following through on what they say. It's easy to sort of set ourselves apart from others. So when I see this community involvement, what that really means is the school staff being out in the community, being visible, being ambassadors for the community. So how do we show our pride in the community as school staff? How are we present for the families in everyday situations? I know a lot of teachers that try and avoid their students when they're out in public. That's not necessarily how you build trust and respect, and sort of, cringing when you see your students in the restaurants. Probably not a great way to build trust and respect. Safety. I wonder if we could spend time unpacking all of these terms. So on your handout, under safety, you guys said physical safety, psychological, and cultural safety. I wonder, what does cultural safety mean for a family who lives along the river in Columbiana County? And I wonder what cultural safety means for a family in Cleveland. I wonder what it looks like down in Cincinnati. They probably are a little bit different. So that would be interesting to sort of unpack what all those things mean at a later time. Collaboration is how you build trust and respect, asking families what they need, not telling them. Clear expectations and transparency, and time. Yeah, it takes time, not giving up when we get a family not showing up, or if we have a hard conversation via phone, not sort of giving up on that relationship. For families of young children in particular, you said role models, teachers modeling good behavior, and discretion. So I think I said that before, showing discretion about when a child should be in the room and part of the conversation, and when maybe is not, especially if it's going to be a really hard negative conversation. Maybe finding a way to make it growth mindset oriented. How do we make this better? How do we make a plan together? But then when the child should be part of that plan and when maybe they shouldn't be. For families of older children, you said providing opportunities to give anonymous feedback and avoiding assumptions. So assuming the best in people, that's good. If you have, I'm going to kind of try and walk through the rest of these, but if you have comments, please write them down and share them with us later. Support for, you said support for learning and future planning at home. That means clear expectations, means connections to learning and growth. I can see us developing some tools about what clear communication looks like and doesn't look like for things like homework assignments. So what's a good example of a homework assignment or supportive materials to send home that's very clearly articulated what the goal is, how it relates to the learning goals for the classroom for that week. I can see us doing something around that. Or maybe even just connecting to another example of something someone else has done on our website. Mutual understanding. Schools and families both sharing their hopes and goals for their students with each other. There's so much here. You guys shared so much, and I'm thrilled to be able to sort of report this back to you guys. For families of young children in particular, connecting families with information about child development and what's sort of to be expected and sort of the spectrum of what they can expect that year for their child. And then the more that teachers know about the children, they can sort of tailor those sorts of materials to families that might want more information about their child. At the middle and high school level, support for learning and future planning at home looks like providing information about those transition times. And again, inclusive conversation. So many of these things, we sort of saw connections between all of the different buckets. So it's nice to see how intertwined these things are. So trust and respect is so much about communication, and support for learning at home, that mutual understanding, connecting to, they're all just very intertwined. And one of the things that was sort of a big picture aha, when we were in respect, you have clear expectations. So that's one of our options for the framework, is sort of focusing on those three buckets of what it is, and then moving trust and respect into a how to do it well section. All right, so what did you say for building partnerships in the community? Again, communication. So figuring out what community partners need, figuring out what families need, trying to have make it be a mutually beneficial set of relationships. Focusing on holistic needs. So that's sort of sometimes how schools see community partnerships, is extending the number of services. So Kathy was telling me that she was hoping that it would be mandatory in every Ohio school district that they have a curriculum for life skills development. And so sometimes schools achieve that not from their general funds and their general courses, but through bringing community partnerships to teach kids about home economics, cooking, how to write a check, financial management, all those things. Sometimes it happens in the after school hours, and some schools might also provide those things as a part of their general curriculum. So increasing access and intimate knowledge of the community resources, they're sort of connected. Like, how do you increase access for families? Well, you have to know about the resources first, right? You have to know about what's in the community. There's a great example up in, I think it's Canton. There's a school up in Canton, Gibbs. Yeah. Their principal knows that community so well because she grew up there, and she does a phenomenal job of connecting families with resources, bringing resources into the community, or from the community into the school. I can't imagine someone being able to connect families that well with resources who didn't grow up in that community. So sometimes it's about, if you're new to the area but you're working in a school, encouraging the staff to really get to know what is out there in the community that they can connect families to. For families of younger children in particular, focusing on literacy, community partnerships for literacy, and field trips. Yeah, getting kids out into the community in ways they don't normally see the community. And then at the middle and high school level, no surprise, a focus on college and career. And that, I believe, is a transition into, Tom's going to tell you about where we are in this framework development and where we're going. And then he's going to ask you for some more information from you guys. So thank you for listening. I look forward to hearing more from you guys today.
Thank you. Oh, clicker. Very cool. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to blow through a couple slides here, and then we're going to have some time together where we'll be discussing and sharing some resources, and during that time, it'll be a little more free of a time so we can, maybe get up, grab a drink, go to the bathroom if you need to. But if you can bear with me for just the next 5 minutes or so, and then we'll have a little more flexibility in our time. I appreciate you guys being such a great audience today. Very cool. So just to remind you all of what we're doing here and what you've been so influential in helping us with is that the Ohio Department of Education really took on a commitment to kind of formalizing family engagement for our state. And when I say formalize, just really provide some resources and supports around it, because we go around and we get on the road and we talk about how great it is, but we really didn't have a lot at the Ohio Department of Education really dedicated to that work. We're lucky we have such a great regional support system that's been helping us with that, but we wanted to get our stuff in order. And to do that, we really wanted to focus on having a definition and having a framework, which I was actually told by our communications department this week is a bad word. Frameworks are jargon words. So we're going to think about it in maybe a different way, but we know what a framework is. You've all been working with us. And a technical assistance response, which is something that we didn't really have at the department. There was no one you could call and ask for help or around problem solving with family engagement resources or anything. What we've worked on in this group a lot is the definition. You've been really helpful, and I just want to take you through where we started. If you remember at the first meeting, we showed you the Head Start definition. And you all basically said, this is good, but no one talks like this. This is not very colloquial, if you will, for the people working throughout our state, and it's kind of dense. So we got your feedback and we moved on to this. This was from March. We shared this with you at the last meeting. You see a lot more kind of broad, even though shorter language-wise, but broader. Then we took it out on the road, and we had focus groups with some early childhood educators and then with some school administrators as well. And this is where we got to today. So where our current working definition, just up here, is that families, education programs, and community partners working together to help children and youth learn, grow, and prepare for their futures is called family engagement. And as you can see, it's still kind of the broad strokes. But we wanted to make sure that it was inclusive to all the people who we've talked about having a responsibility to help the development of our young people. And so that's where we're at right now. We're going to keep working on that. So if you have feedback throughout the day, feel free to share it with me or any of us and jot it down, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. So this is just a timeline of where we're going. All you basically need to know is that we're shooting for January 1st deadline to get this stuff published. And we will be bringing a lot of stuff to you, hopefully, after this summer break. But what I wanted to get to the most now is a little bit of sharing time. And, you know, it's 2019, and we have a big state, and most of this stuff's going to be on the internet, right? So we know that people are always Googling things. You got your phone in your hand all the time. You got a question, you look it up. We want to know what type of resources around this framework would be most useful. And we thought the best way to kind of tease that out of people is to know more about the resources that you're already accessing. So kind of what we'd like you to do right now is, if you have a digital device, a computer, a smartphone, a tablet, anything with you, we have this link up here, and you have little cards at your table too if this is hard to read or you just need to re-look at it. There's a QR code if you're fancy and got one of those QR code scanners, but if not, that's the link right there. We tried to shorten it as much as we could, but what I'd love for you to do over the next oh, this is so much time. This is great. Over the next 10, 15 minutes or so, take a breather. If you need, remember, water and coffee outside, and the bathrooms are just out here to your left. But talk at the table, I really encourage you, pull up a website or an organization or any type of resource that you access sometimes and share it with a table mate. Show them the website, show them around some of your favorite features, and then we ask that in this survey form that this link goes to, you just drop the link in there or describe it to us. In this survey form, you'll notice it kind of just asks for your role. Who are you representing here at the council? And then it gets a lot of space for things to drop in there. So I want to give you some time now to just talk at your table, share some resources, share some stories, and if you wouldn't mind dropping those in the form at the end, we'll come back and talk about it. So thank you. Oh, yeah, questions. Yeah, sorry. Great. Thank you. if you wouldn't mind taking a couple seconds to wrap up your conversations. So I was super happy to come back in the room after grabbing a cup of water and seeing that there was limited technical difficulties and everyone was talking. I was quite nervous about this experiment, but it seems like some of you have really had an opportunity to provide some feedback. Probably take 5 or 10 minutes now to look at some of the things people sent in, and we can share this out, but we really are going to use this to do some research ourselves. And it's really interesting to kind of see the range of resources that people have been adding up here. And as you saw in the form, excuse me, I'm all good. As you saw in the form, there's multiple places. I just didn't want you to have to fill out the survey a bunch of times, so I put in a couple lines for you all. And so we got, 17 responses, 18 responses, 11 responses. So does anyone up here, because we see a couple of things coming up a couple times. ODE, that's very flattering. No, I'm just kidding. ODJFS is a great resource. I know that that's such a big organization, can sometimes be hard to navigate, but they do work directly with families of young children, and then of course all different types of families throughout the state. So that's a good one. Disability Rights Ohio, love it. The Parent Mentor program is really good up here. There's a couple up here, though, that I am not really familiar with myself. So does anyone feel kind of strongly about the organization or a resource that they shared and wanted to give a quick overview of how it can help some of our partners in the room? Thank you.
I just want to point out the one that's in the middle there. It's that www.apa.org, Teaching Principles. This is a resource that is put out by the American Psychological Association, and it's been translated into 20 languages now, and it's essentially, it's the top 20 principles from psychological science that are research-based and are related to children and adolescents learning in school. And it's a really good resource sometimes just to kind of to look at what at a very broad level what the research says, because sometimes, you know, as parents we hear things and say, is that really effective? And so this is just a great resource. It's not technical, and it just really it's you know, heavily rooted in research, and it's what was identified by a large panel as the 20 key take-home points.
The last one, ohioline.osu.edu, is Extension's outlet for disseminating a whole host of fact sheets, and mainly fact sheets written for the public related to just such a wide variety of different topics. So things for families, topics for related to health and nutrition, food safety, money management, human trafficking. So just a wide range of different topics, not necessarily related to schools and school performance and learning, but topics related to life.
Anyone else really passionate about a resource? Yes, ma'am.
That one wasn't mine at the top, but I do work for the Ohio Coalition, and we are the Parent Training and Information Center for the state. So we support families that have kids with special needs or disabilities, helping to train the parents so they can go in and be the best advocate for their student. We have lots of different resources. We work closely with the parent mentors. I noticed that was up there, so I am passionate about that one.
Other resources, people want to talk? Okay, well, that's okay. What I would like to say is that this part's really important for all of us. So we're going to make sure that we're able to share these resources. You all can have a chance to kind of look over them yourself. We're going to use it kind of for like some research and thinking through prototyping and stuff for the types of resources that are useful to you all. But then the kind of last thing that I want to do with my time today, and I'm really happy that this came up a couple times in here, is that see, someone right here says Google. And while we know that Google is not going to just magically give you the best possible resource all of the time or even most of the time, the fact of the matter is I have a Google search bar on my phone, and when I have a question or an issue, I type into Google, how can I fix this issue? And people had YouTube on here too. Fixed my entire drawing machine a couple weeks ago just from YouTube tutorials. It was wild. It's a great time to be alive. And what I wanted to get a little bit of your help with, and this is mostly going to be for us to learn about kind of how you're engaging with these search tools, is to either really, if you're having a current question about something related to school or your child's education, or if you're having kind of a struggling situation that you're dealing with, or if you could put yourself in that space, because I think we've all probably been there at one time or another, having a question that we just didn't have the answer to or know where to go. If you could do that and just tell us in that survey exactly how you would Google it. Don't jazz it up for us because we're reading it. Just pretend that part of the survey that says about the Google in there, just pretend that's the Google search bar and tell us how you're going to Google the answer to this question or problem. It can really be any type of question or issue that you're running into. It's just going to help us think about kind of how people are thinking about addressing any questions that they might have. Oh, do you have a question?
In some of the communities, the local United Ways 211 services have, you're gonna make me use that.
I'm going to.
Okay, all right. So in some of the communities, the local United Way 211 services have those services where you can actually just go to the United Way 211 and then you can look it up for whatever type of service you need. If you need medical, housing, but also in some communities, at least in our community in Stark County, for example, the Stark County or Stark Mental Health and Adult Addiction Recovery, they created something that's called Stark Helps, or Help Stark, and it kind of connects with the 211. So I'm wondering if within our local communities, if there's already something happening at a county level that we should add to that, because that's where a lot of families go versus then recreating the wheel. So just wanted to note that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Very cool. I think that's super helpful. I do know a lot of communities that heavily utilize the 211 services. So if that just clicked with you and you maybe know some of those partners, feel free to throw that in the survey too. But at this point, we got about, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes for you to think about how you're Googling things and get us some of that information. Feel free to talk a little bit more at your tables, and then I think we're going to have like a guest message.
Can you give us an example?
Sure.
Throw out.
Okay, one example. How many of you have students in high school or anyone? Yeah, so you might be aware that like graduation requirements are always kind of up in the air and changing the last couple of years for some reason. How do I know what courses my student needs to be in or what the requirements are for graduation? I would probably Google high school graduation requirements, Ohio. That's what I'm looking for. But also, however you would Google it, because I'm not you, and you should Google it however you Google it. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, and that'd be super helpful for us. Thank you. If you wouldn't mind taking a couple seconds just to wrap up your conversations. And then okie dokie. I really appreciate everyone's participation. We got so much feedback from this activity. I was really nervous about it. I didn't quite know how it was going to go. I tested it out a couple times, but I'm almost embarrassed that I was up here trying to make up an example on the spot for this Google activity, because you all had already done great examples for us. If we're looking through a lot of this, it ranges from things from what are the laws, what are my rights, to helping students with specific learning needs. I immediately saw what is Y slope intercept form and was like, yep, been there. Unfortunately, Google wasn't really a thing when I was in high school, so I had to figure it out from the index of a book. But this is really helpful for framing kind of a lot of the questions that people are looking for answers to and how they're looking for them. So we really appreciate you playing a little make-believe with us and pretending that you're Googling in our survey. And I hope that you got some value from sharing some resources and communicating at your table. But I really appreciate the time today, and I'm going to pass it off to Barbara.
Thanks. All right. So, thanks, Tom. This is great help for us. And, I think I need to get back to the PowerPoint. How do I do that? Not escape. F11. F11. Who knew? Thank you, Tom. Got it. What would you Google? You had all these great slides, Tom. Okay, so I mentioned to you when we started that as part of our have offered sort of memberships in their organization free to our state advisory council and to the organizations here. And Vito Borello, who is the executive director, he made a little video for us that I'd like to play for you. So I hope this works for us. Let's see if we can hear from Vito.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vito Borello. I'm the Executive Director of the National Association for Family, School, and Community Engagement. Our acronym is NASCE. And it is a pleasure to welcome you this morning. We are so excited to be a partner with Ohio State and the Ohio Department of Education Engagement Center project. And our part in this project will be to provide technical assistance to the statewide Family Engagement Center partners and team, as well as to advance a national communications campaign that we're behind, and advancing pre-service family engagement, which really focuses on preparing teachers to engage families before they enter the classroom. So those are some of the things that we'll be doing. We're so excited to have you a part of this initiative because having stakeholders across the state of Ohio is essential to the success of this project. Your voice is crucial to advancing high-impact family, school, and community engagement. And only you can help us to better understand what works best in your communities, in your schools, and within your families. As a new NASCE member, and we're excited to welcome you as a new NASCE member, we invite you to explore our online resources, our online community, and effective practices webinars that we often host monthly. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me if there's anything that any of you need. You're now part of the NASCE family, and we're so excited to begin this journey together with you. Have a great meeting today, and I look forward to getting to know all of you. Take care.
All right. Thank you, Vito. All right, so we are offering this, it is an invitation, so I don't want to be presumptuous and think, well, this is something you'd really like to do, but we hope that maybe you'll try it out and check out the resources that they have. They host webinars regularly where you can participate live on various topics. They're, like I said, they're trying to face and provide resources to family members, but also to school personnel and organizations at lots of different levels. They are part of a national conference that last year was in Cleveland. This year we're headed to Reno. We'll be presenting there as well. So we wanted to give you some time to get on your device. If you look in your email, I'm assuming you might have an email invitation, and give you a chance, if you'd like, to sign up and while we're here to maybe help you sort of figure out the website. If not, it's always something you can do later. But we'll give you a moment to do that, and then we'll check on lunch, because it should be about lunchtime, and then we'll just flow right into lunch. So if you take a minute, relax, look at the NAFSCI membership invitation, and then we will give you the details on lunch. Okay? Any other questions for me? All right. Oh, okay, we'll follow up with you. It would be from, I believe it would be from NAFSCI if you see the National Association. How did it come up on yours? Oh, it came from an admin, maybe. Welcome to NAFSCI is the subject. It went to spam. Haha. Big group emails do that sometimes. Check your spam box, your junk mail.
If you have Google Mail, just search NAFCE.
Okay. Google Mail. Want someone to help you find it. All right, let's multitask. Let's do this, and whenever you're ready, your lunches are ready outside here. So we have box lunches. If you can remember what you ordered, that's always fun to do. I think we have plenty, so if you changed your mind from turkey to caprese or something, that'll be all right. So we wanted to set aside about 45 minutes for lunch, so we can continue to talk. You can get up and meet some other folks in the room, enjoy your lunch, and also look at the NAFSCI membership invitation. Okay.